Hello everyone. I'm going to try something a little bit different today. I've been on kind of a mission to find which of the streaming services is sort of outright the best for watching animated stuff. I don't have sponsorship deals with any streaming service. It's way too small a channel for that anyway. I'm getting to a point where I just have roughly 4 or 5 streaming services that I bounce back and forth between, and it's getting to feel like too much. And I'm not a big fan, and in particular, I do like to seek out great animated stuff, whether it's, more designed for kids or adult animation or anime stuff or animated movies. And I've been kind of at a loss for figuring out which one's actually worth putting your money into and sticking with for a prolonged period of time. So if you've been in kind of a similar situation, we are going to get into it. We're going to look around at all the different, not all the different streaming services in existence, but we're going to look at many of the big players and see how they stack up against each other in terms of animated entertainment. We're going to kick things off with Paramount Plus. I'm gonna do the free trial. Limited commercials. Here's our pricing. We have limited commercials for $6 a month and commercial free except live TV and a few shows for $10. Let's try that one out for size. Brands. Ooh. I'm just looking for animated stuff here that might catch my eye. Oh good, we got that Star Trek Rick and Morty knockoff that I talked about before. Did I delete that video? I don't remember. And we have the original Rugrats. And we have As Told by Ginger, Ah Real Monsters, Jimmy Neutron. Okay, so as we know, Paramount Plus is through Viacom, right? And Viacom owns Nickelodeon, so we are going to be seeing a lot of classic Nickelodeon stuff. All that is here, though it's not animated. Angry Beavers, okay, that's fair. I think there's a decent number of people who would go out of their way to have access to some of these classic Nickelodeon shows. Okay, so I need to speed up here, but Cat Dog, so for the most part, the animated stuff that I'm seeing is just plain classic Nickelodeon stuff. We do have Daria from MTV. Doug, Fairly Odd Parents. Where else is Hey Arnold streaming right now? Is it streaming anywhere at all? So it's all premium stuff. So I guess Paramount Plus is the only one that would have like Hey Arnold baked in. Probably Invader Zim as well. Kablam, okay, that's kind of cool. I like Kablam. So based on what we have here, in terms of animated stuff, it's some Comedy Central shows and a ton of classic Nickelodeon shows. Just real quick, I want to check movies because that's a separate. So we have Sponge on the Run. This is going to be a long video, isn't it? Okay, just to scroll through these very quickly, I'm not seeing a ton of animation at all. I'm not super impressed. I won't go into wrap-up stuff right now, but we really need to move on to the next one. But there's a sampling of what Paramount Plus is offering right now. Now we need to move on to Disney Plus. Okay, so as for Disney Plus, which titles they have, it's kind of self-explanatory. They have basically every Disney Renaissance movie that you can think of. They have the older Disney animated movies as well. I don't think I've noticed any missing there. They have, the entire Pixar catalog, as well as the Pixar short films, which includes plenty of stuff that hasn't been shown in front of any of their movies. They just do, extra shorts here and there. And then you have a handful of animated shows from the Disney Channel back in the day, most notably Recess. So you have a handful of spin-off shows as well. There was a spin-off from Emperor's New Groove. Chip and Dale is a series, I guess. A Goof Troop is a thing. There was a Hercules TV show as well. And you have The Simpsons. I'll be honest, kind of a big deal if you're a fan, just because you have access to all seasons. That's not bad. I mean, there are other less legal ways to access every season of The Simpsons and watch some of your favorite episodes from the Golden Age, but this is not a terrible option. But otherwise, I think Disney Plus is pretty self-explanatory. They do have a pretty decent catalog of animated stuff, just because that's what it was for such a long time, was just an animation studio. There are caveats for sure, and something that I felt about Disney Plus as well, just in using it for a few months here and there, it ends up feeling very limited to me. There is ultimately a big difference in terms of casual viewing between animated movies and animated TV shows. Obviously, just because of runtime, you can sink a whole bunch of time into animated TV shows, and I feel that repeat viewing is a lot easier as opposed to rewatching again and again a full-length feature animated film, which can end up repetitive in a bad way. It's not as comforting or as casual or as fun because these movies have higher stakes generally than any given TV episode. But that's Disney Plus. Chances are, if you're listening, you already have it or have access to it. But now we're going to move on to another very big heavy hitter, and that is Netflix. You're seeing a little bit of my watch history right now, and obviously in terms of animated stuff, wowzers, we got some stuff here, don't we? Obviously we have Korra and Avatar are still here. Again, I can't imagine they're going to be sticking around forever on Netflix if Paramount wants to pull all that stuff onto their consolidated streaming service. But as we will soon see through browsing and just through me rambling about this stuff, Netflix has still just done a really good job in terms of the exclusive content that, at least if they don't go completely bankrupt and dissolve, they will just have for the foreseeable future and will not show up anywhere else. I do think they are still doing a pretty darn good job of handling themselves in the streaming wars, specifically with animated stuff and exclusives. Disenchantment, not a big fan of it, but there's one. A lot of people care about that one. The Little Prince is a movie, of course, not a TV show. I really liked it. Netflix original. It's not going to show up anywhere else. Oh, they have the original Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, too. Over the Moon, I was not a big fan of, but that's another Netflix original. Klaus, which is actually very good visually, is another Netflix original. It's going to stay here. Puss in Boots is not bad, if you haven't checked that one out. Again, is puppetry animation, because look, they have that Dark Crystal show, one of the first Miyazaki movies here, and Castle of Cagliostro. Hilda, still one of my favorite contemporary animated shows, is a Netflix original as well. She-Ra, which I did a whole big video on. Mirai, I rewatch a lot. I finished it. It's just I was in the middle of another rewatch. Castlevania, I tried out only briefly. Excellent. Very good. Very adult, of course, and very violent. Paradise Brady, I hate. There it is again. Baki, a lot of people love that one too. Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, obviously there are bigger names out there when it comes to streaming anime stuff, but somehow Netflix is really holding their own in that department. That's not my specialty. I'm not going to go on and on and on about all the best anime stuff. Even just having like Baki, Great Pretender, BoJack Horseman, again, getting back to the exclusives. Come on, if you're into adult animation, definitely one with some rewatch value. Kakaguri, I've seen a little bit of. Yeah, we got Hunter x Hunter right here. We got Naruto. We got One Piece, Sword Art Online, Death Note, Baki, Bleach, classic. Devilman Crybaby, that's Yuasa, right? Masaki Yuasa, who did Cat Soup and the Ping Pong anime. You got Evangelion over here, Fullmetal Alchemist. Like I'm saying, it's not the most abundant library of either anime or just plain animated content, but so much of the good stuff that they do have is exclusive to the platform. When we get to some of these other streaming services, even if they have a decent catalog now, it does not mean at all that they're going to be able to hang on to all that stuff. So here we are at Amazon Prime Video. Generally speaking, I'm not super impressed, but in terms of animated stuff, even this, look at this, that they're aiming animated stuff at kids. We have SpongeBob SquarePants, only season 1. We have Peppa Pig, only season 1. Dora the Explorer, only season 1. The asterisks, are just all over the place, and it starts to, here we have an Amazon original, is the Kung Fu Panda, The Paws of Destiny. So there's an exclusive. Clifford, so some, a handful of stuff for like very young kids, but even here already, in this one row, we end up with Avatar, but this is available via the CBS All Access things. If you already have Amazon Prime, it's kind of just a bonus. Like no one should get Amazon Prime just to use it for streaming video. Like that's not a good move. And in terms of animated stuff, they just don't. In fact, if we go here to categories, I was hoping for an animation category, but we just have an anime category. Let's check that out just for fun. But then goes to animated stuff. So I don't like, anime has a specific meaning. And all this stuff, yeah, even this top row, it's all premium stuff. This is all pay to rent, pay to, watch, all that kind of stuff. So no, if you're really into animated stuff, I'm sorry, I don't think Amazon Prime Video is, and also don't watch Belladonna of Sadness, especially with commercials. That would be a miserable experience. Okay, so Hulu, I wrote down just some of the biggest ones, the biggest heavy hitters that you have on there for animated stuff, which includes Bob's Burgers. They still have all of Bob's Burgers and update that with new episodes as they release. They have Solar Opposites, the Justin Roiland show. And they also have The Great North, which is another series from, well, it's not actually from Lauren Bouchard. I don't know if he's involved. It's created by the Molyneux sisters, who worked on Bob's Burgers, and obviously the visual style is very similar to Bob's Burgers. Stone Quackers, I've never heard of. Crossing Swords, Golan the Insatiable, Brickleberry, that classic, Mr. Pickles, King of the Hill, Border Town, Axe Cop. Oh, Axe Cop. Some Family Guy. Do they have all of Family Guy on here? Mike Tyson stories, Futurama, Lucas Brothers Moving Company is pretty good. Cowboy Bebop, that's decent. Okay, Venture Brothers, so they actually do have a decent amount of stuff. It does seem to be more, outside of Family Guy, slightly more fringe shows, I guess I would say. Even Archer? Really? Archer. Okay. It's actually a decent selection here, and it seems they have Rick and Morty as well, which is another one that I have to imagine is going to be a temporary situation, because HBO Max has been grabbing up Rick and Morty, right? They got Shrek, they got Trolls World Tour, Sonic the Hedgehog, which I did try to watch, Abominable, Garfield, the movie, Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs. If they had the original Ice Age, maybe I could do that. Addams Family, Ugly Dolls, Shrek 2. They have Spirit as well, the horse movie. Remember that one? And Storks. Wow. I mean, Storks is excellent. Storks is very good. Maybe I'll have to do a video on Storks. Okay, so Apple TV Plus, they're getting the Snoopy show, as I discovered earlier today. They do have Wolfwalkers, which is excellent, because you can't see it in a theater, and it's a very good movie that you should check out. Apple TV Plus really does seem to be aimed more at a slightly older audience, a slightly older demographic, and I'm not surprised that they haven't thrown down very hard on animated stuff, because I think they assume that a lot of other platforms have already handled that stuff, which is true, as we're finding out. So I wanted to very briefly mention Funimation, and you can kind of see this as a dip into Crunchyroll as well. If you're really, really into the anime stuff, these are the sites that handle that. They just have so much. What? I guess there's like a Persona 5 show? Is it just like the cutscenes from the game? I'm getting distracted. But anyway, again, self-explanatory. If you're really into anime stuff, this is the place. This and Crunchyroll really have that locked down. As I mentioned earlier, there are other streaming platforms that have a decent number of cool anime shows, but if that's your biggest thing, that's what you're looking for, it's basically Funimation or Crunchyroll. It's HBO Max. This is kind of an interesting one, because when they first started advertising HBO Max, all the ads I saw for it very much focused on, this is like the home of animated stuff. You should check out HBO Max if you like animation. They're kind of living up to that so far. Like with everything else, I'm just going to mention some of the really big heavy hitters. But whereas Paramount Plus has the Nickelodeon stuff and a lot of their old animated shows, HBO Max has ownership, or the parent company does have ownership over a lot of the Cartoon Network stuff, including shows that were previously running new episodes on Cartoon Network and then got migrated over to HBO Max. That happened to Summer Camp Island, which I've talked about before in my one successful video. They have Powerpuff Girls, they have Dexter's Lab, they have Close Enough from J.G. Quintel, whatever his name is, the guy who made Regular Show. That's his more adult animated thing about being young parents, and there's so much to take care of. Animals, which I actually liked quite a bit. They have Moral Oral as well, which was a really pleasant surprise because I was almost surprised that any streaming platform would want to pick up that show. They do have Rick and Morty. They have every season of South Park, which was kind of exciting to me just because for a while you could only stream it on the South Park website, but then they added a bunch of ads. But you can just watch it here. They have a bunch of Looney Tunes stuff. They apparently even have the Harley Quinn show, which I thought was exclusive to DC Universe streaming, whatever it's called. And then they also have some slightly weirder things as well. They have Genndy Tartakovsky's Primal, which I also did a video about. And they also have a show called YOLO Crystal Fantasy, which is by Michael Cusack. He was the guy who was behind the Bushland Adventures sort of Rick and Morty prank spinoff thing that was very good. They're kind of covering a lot of different bases. Obviously, a lot of this stuff is skewing more towards fans of adult animation. It's more serious stuff. It's more, things that would not be appropriate for young viewers. But they do have the Cartoon Network stuff that's fine for kids. They have Adventure Time, for gosh sake. I mean, that's a pretty big one, including the Adventure Time reboot TV specials, which only ever went out to HBO Max. In other words, they are kind of living up to the thing of being kind of a home for animated stuff on streaming. And ultimately, between all of these that I've talked about so far, I think it really comes down to maybe Netflix and HBO Max, at least for me. I did want to briefly speak to different kind of viewer archetypes. So different types of viewers maybe would lean towards different streaming services, and I've kind of already alluded to that so far. But obviously, someone who is really, really, really into anime should probably focus on those platforms that do nothing but anime. If someone is, happens to have young kids or, just wants a more a safe environment or a streaming platform where they can hang out, it would almost definitely be Disney Plus. And if it's someone who's a little bit older and a little bit more hipstery, is that term even relevant anymore? You're probably going to end up going between Netflix and HBO Max, and that's where I am too in terms of splitting my attention when I go looking for animated stuff. Yeah, the emphasis for both is on animated TV shows, but both of them do a good job of bringing in these other properties that aren't necessarily exclusives, and they won't stick around on that platform forever, but you at least have a lot of options at any given time. You know what might be fun really briefly is I'm going to compare pricing for all of these. Okay, so that took a good long while, but I'm going to really quickly look at the pricing for all the platforms that I've talked about here. Paramount Plus, as we saw earlier, it's $6 a month with ads, which is pretty comparable to Hulu's pricing. If you don't want commercials, it's double that at $12 a month, and then live TV obviously is a pretty beefy premium on top of all that stuff. Disney Plus, if you just get the Disney side of things, which that's what we're talking about here, we don't really need ESPN and Hulu stuff. $8 a month, so kind of in the middle of the field. $9 a month for the basic Netflix plan as well. Apple TV Plus, very cheap, $5 a month. There are also ways to get it if you happen to buy a Mac or a new iPhone or something, or as I recently found out, if you add people to your Apple account family, quote unquote, they can share a lot of your subscriptions. HBO Max is a big one at $15 a month. They're not really messing around. Obviously, Amazon Prime, it's part of the larger subscription to the site essentially, but that's $120 a year, $13 a month. Obviously, you're getting more than just the video streaming stuff out of that. Funimation, $6 a month, still gets you ad free. You just get extra stuff if you really bump up the price here. So in other words, if you're really between Netflix and HBO Max, if you just get the two of those, not a terrible amount of money to really get a lot of variety in terms of the animated stuff you have access to. Again, I'm not trying to endorse any streaming site. I'm not trying to encourage anybody to sign up for any of these. But at the same time, if you find yourself in a similar position to myself, where there's just too much and you can't keep track of having just a bunch of streaming services and subscriptions, and you end up doing the free trial and then you forget about it and get suckered into a longer subscription, this is kind of just a PSA. I'm going to cut this down a bunch, but it's been roughly an hour of just sitting on my computer and going through each of these sites. Really, I just hope it's helpful for someone out there. At the same time, I'm interested in the community aspect as well. If you have a favorite one, tell me what it is. Please let me know if there's especially exclusive shows to some of these sites that you really think are great and that not a lot of people have heard about. That's definitely the kind of stuff that I would love to look into. But that's really all I got. Please tell me things about animated shows and movies and things that you don't feel have gotten enough attention. If you've had a really bad experience with a particular streaming platform, this is the perfect place to complain about that. I kind of like hearing about that too. So thanks for joining me for this very strange investigative experience, and I hope to see you back here soon. Goodbye.